everyone. Welcome back to EdWise Education, Literacy, and Life. And I am Dr. K. Childs coming to you one more time to talk with you a little bit about education, literacy, and life from my perspective. And it is deep into mid-September, what I have dubbed student-centered September. And we are going to go ahead and get started. You will hear from only about one thing today, but I do have something I do want to share just that has been bothering me. I'll share that in just a moment, but the main point of this video is you all will be hearing about my 2-cent tip for this week. It is a 2-cent Tuesday tip brought to you by my Instagram feed, and I will be discussing speaking as it relates to literacy. But before I get into that, there's a little something that I just read on Twitter that just reminded me of how much work I still have to put in as a professional and as an educator, and I'm up for the challenge. I just want to put the word out there for universities, colleges, school districts. If you are looking to embrace diversity and you are looking to share diverse perspectives, you need to first look at your staff and your faculty if you're at a university. I just read a tweet that said that there are 9 Black African American professors in the Cal State system. Did I say 9? There are 2 in the Cal system, which is composed of 9 universities. So 2 professors out of 9 universities. Now, we could get into a long discussion as to why that is, why isn't that. I know that there are some applicants that are probably qualified, but for whatever reason, we've got a long way to go when it comes to higher ed especially. And I say that, I can speak on it because I, within the last year, have had a faculty search, and that is going to be a whole nother video that I will share once I have landed where it is that I am supposed to be. But I had a discussion with someone a couple months back that, you know, a lot of universities, they look for diversity. They want diverse. They say that they're diverse and they have diverse perspectives, but then does their faculty reflect that? Does their student body reflect that? Do they have efforts put in place to try to get their university on that level or to reflect their plans? It all sounds good until we have to actually try to implement it. My personal perspective, there's so many things that I could say. I'm not going to say. I will say though, from my perspective, I can't say that 100% that I have not landed where I'm supposed to land because of race. However, I know that it is about who you know a lot of times, and I am a first-generation college student, so I don't have a lot of connections. I'm working on building a network and making connections. There have been a lot of people that have looked out for me and sent me jobs, but ultimately you have to go through the process and get in there, and sometimes going through that process is not the same for me as it would be for another applicant, because I've taken a different method to get to where I am. And when I say a different method, I have a lot of different perspectives. I've seen a lot of different things that other applicants haven't seen. I see that as a plus. Other universities see that as might not necessarily fit in with everyone else. But in order to get over fitting in, these places have to make some effort to, sometimes when things don't fit in, you have to force them in sometimes, and it could be uncomfortable, but it also can bring a great value and experience to a university, a student body, or a department. So that just kind of bugged me. So you have a college system that has 9 schools within that system in California, and there are only 2 Black math professors. I know math is a underrepresented field, period. It's tough to find math teachers, yet alone math professors, but we've got to do better. I'm doing what I can, and I'm doing my part, and I'm going to keep doing what I do until I land at a place where I fit in. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't fit in anywhere. I don't want to fit in. I want to be the piece that complements what's already there, and also to be able to build upon what's already there. All right, that was way too much about this one topic, but it was on my heart. So let's move into the 2-cent tip. 2-cent tip from my Instagram page for this week says speaking is also a component of literacy. Teachers, don't allow your voice to only be heard in class. So don't spend your time being the one that's doing all the talking. It's not always about pencils, paper, and books. That's going to be the title of this video. It's not always about pencils, paper, and books. Allow students to vocalize their knowledge. So teachers, you shouldn't be the only one talking in your class. We're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of being a lecturer, but your students should have some say-so, and we should hear from your students beyond just answering questions. They should be able to vocalize what they're learning and share with others what they're learning. They shouldn't go home saying, I don't know what I learned. They should be able to share and vocalize what they've learned. So, with that said, I also said literacy is the ability to communicate and understand and gain understanding. Speaking and being verbal is a part of literacy learning. So we've got speaking, we've got listening, we've got reading, we've got writing. Those are important components when it comes to literacy. I talked about student-centered September. So in order to make student-centered September and make speaking and having a literacy connection, I have a couple things that I want to share with you about a couple of activities that you can do if you're an educator or even a professor to put a little bit more speaking into your instruction rather than you doing all the talking. One thing that I'd like to share with you that you could do, you could have a class debate. I've done this with students as young as 4th grade, 5th grade, up to college level students. You take a topic, you take a question, you take an element of something that you're something that you're reading, and then you split your class into 2 groups. You have them share one perspective on one side and one perspective on another side. First, they have to get together and work as a team and discuss what is going on, whether it be a passage or whether it be a story that you've read or about a character. You present some type of topic that's debatable or that has a controversial issue even, and have those students get together and talk and vocalize. So being able to share and speak, not just in writing, but also saying it and verbalizing is important for our students. Some things that they could do debates about would be books, major issues, also current events that are happening. Don't sweep current events under the rug when it comes to your students. Again, this is student-centered, so you want to be as current as possible, and you want to incorporate them as much as possible and incorporate their voices. And speaking is an important component of literacy. It also is an important component of literacy because speaking relates to fluency. When we're teaching students how to read, fluency is one of the big 5. When we're trying to determine if they're fluent, we look at their pace and how they're able to read. They're vocalizing and they're speaking. We've got to have them to be fluent enough in order to comprehend. So speaking is a component of their fluency as well. So a way that you could do that and work with students, this is going towards our younger students, is use programs, computer programs or apps. I use Adobe Spark. That's something that I use for myself. I also recommend to my students. You can take Adobe Spark. It works almost just like PowerPoint, but students are able to add their voice to slides and then using an app, using an iPad. So it makes it a lot more simple than going on to PowerPoint and having to use a mic and all of that. They could just talk right into their phone and record, or talk right into their iPad and record. They could use that app for summarizing. They could use that app to preview a book. They could use that app to rate or review a book, or they could use the app to discuss certain topics or concepts. So again, speaking helps with fluency. Speaking helps with literacy, period. It's something we shouldn't ignore with our students. We have so many students that get to the college level and they're either afraid to speak or they don't know how to put together what to say or put together an argument. And if they can't speak it, a lot of times it's hard to write it. I'm one of those people, I have to write things out first before I speak it. Go figure, even though I'm doing these videos. But anyways, there's an obvious connection between being able to be literate and also to be able to speak. Yes, there are people that get by with just speaking and not being able to read or write, but speaking is also an important component when learning to be literate and when learning to read and when learning to write. All right, enough for my 2 cents, enough for my rant about diversifying higher education faculty. Just know that I am one, I'll go back to that, I am one of what I believe, I last looked, 4% of people of color or African Americans of color in faculty, and that includes all schools, including HBCUs. So my rant that I had, it was real and it was important. All right. So I hope that you've gained something, whether it be from my rant or from my 2 Cent Tuesday, which talked about not only using paper, pencils, and books. It's not all about that, but having students vocalize and use their voice. So in closing, I want to give a shout out today to one of my fellow Tailboard board members, and that is Matt P. I want to thank you for all of your help in helping co-facilitate and helping review some of the ideas that I've put out for our Tail Talks, which is our Twitter chat for the Texas Association for Literacy Education. Matt always looks over the questions that I contribute to the Tail Talk, and he also helps and participates and facilitates with me when we do our Twitter talks or Twitter chats, Tail Talks, and they're held on Sunday evenings once per month through the Texas Association for Literacy Education. That is a service that I provide as their social media coordinator. But Matt, you are also a big help, so thank you for all your help and continued support. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this video out. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, I don't know what you're waiting on. Please make sure you subscribe. Also share my videos and also like and comment. I love interacting with people when it comes to education. So don't interact with me about anything else. Interact with me about education and what I'm passionate about, and I'm passionate about helping others about. So I will see you all a little while later in the next video, but I want you to remember to teach, lead, and serve. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Bye-bye.